Tricks.
Okay. I'm going to talk about the lack of free will in our lives. So it seems like the recent advances in science is pointing out that we might be in a matrix, not controlled by someone, but the self-formed matrix. So let's try to understand free will by looking at a related concept, freedom. So we all know what freedom is. We have the option to buy whatever we want to. We can go to places wherever we like. So freedom essentially gives us options. Free will goes deeper than that. Given a set of options, what is the option that you will choose? A similar concept is, how much responsible are you for your actions? So if you have free will, then you can be held responsible for if you have done a crime or something, you can be held responsible. If you don't have free will, then how can you? Let's look at what influences our behavior. Nature has a major contribution to it. By nature, I mean the genetic makeup that we inherit from our parents. So that decides our intelligence as well as our basic personality traits. So that would have a major influence on our behavior. Then if you look at nurture, so when we come into this world, we interact with the environment, shaping our thoughts, and these thoughts will further affect our behavior in the environment. So nurture also has a role to play in our behavior. Let's take a simple thought experiment. If we have a person and his clone, and suppose they were going through the same experience till now, given a decision, given an option, would they decide on the same option or different? So if we believe that a person is defined only by nature and nurture, then they should be deciding on the same option, which implies that it's pretty much determined and we don't have free will. Let's look at what science has to say with regard to free will. The discussions about free will started with Newton's laws and the determinism that it brings. So essential corollary to Newton's laws is that every event has a set of events that preceded it which has caused this event to occur, and this event would be causing future events to occur. So if you trace back to the past, to the start of the universe, and if you trace further to the future, you can determine the whole course of the universe. That's what Newton's laws as a corollary indicate. But then it implies that we don't have free will because everything is fully determined. Then quantum mechanics came into picture and said that at least at the subatomic level, the universe is completely random. So you can't essentially predict the whole future because there is random inherent in the nature. How does quantum physics then relate to free will? Quantum physics doesn't give us much leeway here because one, the randomness is at the subatomic level and our brain processes work at a much more macro level. So they need not be influenced by the randomness. Even if you assume randomness affecting our brain, then it's more a random will than free will. So how do you explain the complexity of our brain? So cognitive science has this concept of emergent systems. It states that if you have a set of agents and each agent's following very simple rules and interacting only with their neighbors, they can actually create complex behavior. This is the game of life that most of us know. Each cell interacts only with its neighboring cells, but over generations, if you look, it can actually show you like a life form. You can actually get complex behavior emerged. So their explanation of our complex behavior is that each neuron only has a fixed set of rules, which would talk to other neurons, and this system itself can provide such complex behavior that gives us the illusion of free will. So they also say that free will is just a myth. The last science, neuroscience, which actually talks about brain or researchers on brain, has some recent findings which indicate that we are not actually in control of our behavior. So one such experiment is the magnetic simulation. So here, you just take, if you ask a person to lift his hand randomly, 60% of time, a right-handed person would be lifting his right hand. But under the influence of magnetic stimulation, he would be lifting he was found to lift his left hand 80% of times. Like he was thinking he was in full control of his behavior, but that wasn't the case. So what are the implications if you assume we don't have free will? One is that it's a bit sad that we are not masters of our own destiny. It's like it's written to us and we just need to follow the plan. The other is that if that's the case, then there are no heroes and no villains. Because everyone has to follow their own plan. The major section, one major section of society who is affected by this lack of free will or free will are the criminals. Because we punish them, making them responsible for their behavior. But if there is lack of free will, then how can we hold them responsible? In fact, that's a major research going on because this is a concern for law that if you can't hold a person responsible, then how can you punish him? So there's a project that's going on in the US with a list of eminent scientists and all trying to figure out what to do. So finally, because of lack of free will, I had to give this presentation. But anyway, thanks for listening.